From the Zalathai observatory ring, human bodies looked exactly like the reports said they would. Small, soft, breakable. Commander Vrethkal, veteran of 12 extermination campaigns, watched the tactical feed with something dangerously close to boredom. The humans were evacuating their research outpost on Moon K-73, a pale rock orbiting a dying blue star. Their movements were fast, frantic, disorganized. Primitive panic response, Vrethkal clicked, mandibles flexing. Begin containment fire. Blue plasma lanced across the moon's surface. Human structures shattered like thin glass. Air ignited. Metal screamed. The first wave of humans didn't even have time to scream before the vacuum swallowed them whole. The Draxian bridge filled with low, satisfied rumbles. They rupture easily, one officer said. Skin integrity failure in less than a second. Vrethkal nodded. Fragile species. As predicted. Then the sensors started malfunctioning. No, said the technician. Not malfunctioning. Reading, a movement. Vrethkal leaned forward. Clarify. The tactical hologram zoomed in. A human lay broken against a shattered bulkhead. Limbs bent at impossible angles. Chest crushed inward. By all known biological standards, the creature was dead. Then it moved. Its fingers twitched. The Draxian bridge fell silent. The human's ribcage, collapsed moments earlier, shifted. Bone fragments pulled inward, knitting together with wet, grinding sounds. Torn muscle fibers reattached like living threads. The chest expanded. A breath. Shallow. Painful. But undeniably alive. That is not possible, Vrethkal hissed. Another human, this one missing an entire arm, rolled onto their side. Blood pooled beneath them, dark and thick. The stump of the limb convulsed. And then, grew. Not cleanly. Not quickly. Muscle surged outward in raw, ugly layers. Bones speared forward, forming structure before skin wrapped around it. Fingers emerged last, trembling, unfinished, but functional. The human screamed through clenched teeth. Then stood up. Shock rippled through the bridge. Biological violation, an officer whispered. They are rebuilding themselves. Impossible, Vrethkal snapped. No species regenerates at that scale under trauma. But the data didn't care about doctrine. All across the battlefield, humans were rising. Some dragged shattered legs behind them until the legs corrected themselves. Others pressed hands to open wounds, flesh sealing beneath their palms. One human with half their skull exposed kept firing a weapon while gray matter visibly pulsed beneath regenerating bone. The moon of K-73 became something else entirely. Not a battlefield. A horror exhibit. They should be in shock, the medical officer said. Their pain response should. They're suppressing it, another voice cut in. Neural dampening. Voluntary. Vrethkal's spines bristled. Voluntary pain suppression was a myth. Pain was hard-coded survival law. Unless, Commander, the sensor tech said slowly, their vital signs are fluctuating wildly, but stabilizing. They are burning energy at catastrophic rates. Vrethkal's eyes narrowed. Meaning? Meaning they are trading energy for survival. Rapid cell replacement. Accelerated tissue synthesis. The commander leaned back, unease crawling into his thorax. They are not fragile, he said quietly. The humans regrouped. Not tactically, emotionally. They moved toward each other, backs touching, covering weaknesses while wounds closed. One human, clearly younger than the rest, collapsed to their knees as regeneration slowed. Another human stepped in front of them. Took a plasma bolt to the spine. Fall. And then pushed back up, vertebrae cracking into alignment as they rose. Vrethkal had seen species fight before. He had never seen a species refuse to stay dead. Increase firepower, he ordered. Total disintegration. The cannons fired again. Humans burned. And burned. And burned. But not all of them died. Some crawled into cover, regeneration struggling but relentless. Others lay still long enough for the Draxians to mark them as casualties, only for heat signatures to spike minutes later as bodies repaired themselves in the dark. Fear entered the bridge like a living thing. Commander, the tactical officer said, voice unsteady, human energy reserves are replenishing. Vrethkal froze. From where? The answer came from an automated analysis packet, one no one had requested. Human metabolic anomaly detected. Cellular repair linked to rest state microshutdowns. Neural activity dips similar to death trajectory, temporarily. They were turning parts of themselves off. Briefly. Tiny deaths. To fuel recovery. They are flirting with biological collapse, the the medical officer said. Repeatedly. And surviving it, someone whispered. On the moon's surface, a human soldier laughed. Blood covered their face. One eye was still missing. The socket was closing slowly, painfully, but the laughter didn't stop. They looked up at the sky, at the Draxian fleet, and raised a hand in a gesture the translators struggled to define. Mockery. Vrethkal felt something he had not felt in centuries. Dread. Recall the fleet, he said. Silence. Commander? An officer asked. Now, Vrethkal roared. Before they finish healing. As the ships pulled away, the last image from K-73 transmitted across the galactic net. Humans standing among ruins, bodies still steaming, wounds closing in real time. Alive. Watching. Learning. And somewhere, deep within the galactic archives, the classification of humanity quietly changed. From fragile species to regenerative apex threat. The Galactic Council did not panic easily. It governed over 4,000 sentient species, most of whom had survived supernovas, plagues, civil wars, and gods that turned out to be nothing more than stars with good marketing. Fear to the Council was inefficient. But after K-73, efficiency died. Within one standard cycle, the humans were reclassified, again. The word fragile vanished from every official record, replaced by something colder and far more alarming. Conditionally immortal organisms. That phrase alone triggered emergency assemblies across 3 spiral arms. And so the Council did what it always did when faced with something it did not understand. It ordered an investigation. The facility between stars. The research station Helix Vault drifted in interstellar darkness, far from any sun. No planets. No escape trajectories. A place designed so that nothing studied inside could ever accidentally return home. Dr. Krilthek floated in the central observation chamber, 4 eyes fixed on the transparent containment field. Inside stood a human. Subject designation, H-17. Age 32 local cycles. Status, voluntary participant. He looked normal. 2 arms. 2 legs. Scar tissue across his chest and neck, as if his body had been repeatedly stitched back together by something impatient. Krilthek adjusted his translator. Human H-17, you are aware that this procedure carries risk. The human nodded. Yeah. Doc explained it. You're gonna hurt me. Yes. And you want to see how fast I fix it? Yes. The human shrugged. Been through worse. That casual acceptance sent a ripple of discomfort through the chamber. Several observers shifted uneasily. Krilthek had studied death his entire career. As a trauma biologist, he knew the exact moment when most species crossed the line from injured to gone. Humans, it seemed, treated that line as a suggestion. Begin Phase 1, Krilthek ordered. The containment field pulsed. A precision blade, molecularly thin, extended from the ceiling and sliced across the human's forearm. Blood sprayed. Gasps echoed from the observers. The human hissed, jaw tightening, but did not scream. Pain level? Krilthek asked. 6, the human said. Could be worse. The wound gaped open, muscle fibers twitching. For 3 seconds nothing happened. Then the edges of the cut began to crawl. Not metaphorically. The flesh moved. Cells surged inward, knitting together with visible speed. Capillaries reconnected, sealing the blood loss. Within 20 seconds the skin closed entirely, leaving only a faint red line. One of the junior researchers gagged. Incredible, someone whispered. Krilthek's crest trembled. Metabolic output? Off the charts, a technician replied. Caloric consumption spike equivalent to a full planetary sprint. The human swayed slightly. You okay? Krilthek asked. Need food, the human admitted. Feels like I ran a marathon. Rations were slid through the field. The human ate like a starving predator, hands shaking as energy flowed back into his system. Krilthek's voice lowered. Phase 2. This time the blade did not stop at the skin. It cut deep. Through muscle. Through bone. The human screamed. Observers recoiled as the arm was nearly severed, hanging by strips of tissue. Stop, one council member shouted. Krilthek hesitated, then raised a limb. Continue. The human collapsed to one knee, breathing hard. Pain flooded his neural readings, then abruptly dropped. Neural suppression detected, the tech said. He's choosing not to feel it. The human's eyes unfocused. Then regeneration began again. Bone regrew first, aligning itself with wet cracks. Muscle wrapped around it in thick cords. Skin followed last, slow this time, uneven. It took minutes. When it finished, the human lay on the floor, chest heaving. That, Krilthek said quietly, should have killed him. The human looked up weakly. Yeah, that happens a lot. Silence crushed the chamber. Phase 3 was a mistake. The council demanded escalation. Regeneration under stress is impressive, one elder said, voice cold. But we need limits. Krilthek protested. You are approaching lethal thresholds. That, the elder replied, is the point. The human was informed. 17 listened. Then nodded. If I pass out, he said, don't wake me too fast. Krilthek stiffened. Explain. Sleep helps, the human replied. Or something like it. Before Krilthek could question further, the council gave the order. The weapon used was not a blade. It was thermal rupture. Energy tore through the human's torso, obliterating organs, collapsing lungs, rupturing the heart. The human died. Flatline. Gasps erupted. Several observers turned away. Krilthek stared at the readings in horror. You've killed him. Observe, the elder commanded. For 12 seconds nothing happened. Then, a spike. Electrical activity surged through dead tissue. The heart stuttered. Once. Twice. Then began pumping again. Organs reformed in chaotic layers, imperfect but functional. The human convulsed violently, screaming as consciousness slammed back into place. Krilthek screamed too, his species equivalent, a sound of pure terror. Stop the test. The field powered down. Medics rushed in, stabilizing the human as his body finished rebuilding itself from what should have been absolute death. H-17 gasped, eyes wild. Don't, he choked, do that again? The chamber was dead silent. One council member finally spoke. That was not regeneration, she whispered. That was resurrection. Krilthek's limbs trembled. No, he said slowly. It was something worse. The human slept for 20 straight hours after that. During that time, Krilthek reviewed the data. Human cells did not simply heal. They adapted. Each injury left behind microscopic changes. Reinforced structures, faster response times, improved resistance. They were not regenerating. They were learning. Pain taught them. Death taught them faster. When the human finally woke, Krilthek stood alone beside the bed. Why, Krilthek asked softly, are your species like this? The human smiled weakly. Because our world tries to kill us every day, he said. We just got used to it. Krilthek looked at the being who had died on his table and come back stronger. And for the first time in his long life, the trauma doctor felt true, unfiltered fear. Because if humans could do this in a lab, what would they do in a war? The ban lasted exactly 36 cycles. That was how long the Galactic Council managed to keep humanity out of open war. Officially, humans were labeled unstable regenerative entities, too dangerous, too unpredictable, too biologically disruptive to be deployed alongside standard coalition forces. They were to be studied, monitored, and politely kept away from battlefields where civilized species fought with rules. Unofficially, everyone was afraid. Afraid of what happened on K-73. Afraid of Helix Vault. Afraid of the data that proved humans did not merely survive injury. They used it. But fear does not stop war. It only delays it. The Drev offensive. The Drev Imperium struck without warning. 16 war moons breached the Kesh Corridor, a vital trade artery linking 3 core systems. Their forces were massive, towering exoskeletal infantry, plasma artillery that could melt cities, and armor designed to shrug off anything short of star-level weapons. Within 2 cycles, 4 systems fell. Coalition forces broke against the Drev like waves against iron. General Threxmol, supreme commander of the Drev, watched the carnage from orbit with satisfaction. They bleed, he rumbled. Everything bleeds. Then the council made its last, desperate decision. They unlocked the human ban. Human deployment authorization. The message was brief. To all coalition commanders. Human combat units cleared for frontline engagement. Engagement rules, none. When the human fleet arrived, it was smaller than expected. Old ships. Modular armor. Designs that looked improvised. Threxmol laughed when he saw them. Send infantry, he ordered. Let us remind them they are flesh. The first clash occurred on planet Reth 9, a red, dust-choked world already littered with the bones of fallen armies. Drev shock troops advanced in disciplined lines, weapons blazing. Humans charged. No formation. No hesitation. They ran straight into hell. The first wave. Private Elena Vasquez felt the impact before she heard it. A plasma bolt hit her chest, burning through armor, flesh, and bone. She flew backward, slammed into the ground and did not move. Drev sensors marked her as neutralized. 30 seconds later her fingers twitched. Her lungs, collapsed and scorched, re-expanded with a wet gasp. Charred tissue sloughed away as new flesh formed beneath. She screamed, not from fear, but from the agony of regeneration forcing itself through damaged nerves. She rolled to her knees, grabbed her rifle, and fired. Around her, the same impossible scene repeated itself. Humans fell. Humans burned. Humans got torn apart by claws strong enough to rip armored vehicles open. And then, they got back up. Some crawled. Some limped. Some dragged half-functional limbs until those limbs repaired themselves enough to run again. Drev warriors hesitated. That hesitation cost them everything. Why won't they stay down? Commander Seth O'Neill lost his left leg to a Drev blade. He didn't stop. He hit the ground, rolled, and fired until the blade came back and severed his arm as well. Still alive. Still conscious. Still angry. His remaining hand clawed at the dirt as he laughed through broken teeth. "Is that all you've got?" he shouted. Med drones reached him minutes later. They didn't treat him. They retrieved him. Hours later, O'Neill returned to the battlefield with a freshly regenerated leg and a mechanical arm bolted directly into his nervous system. Stronger. Faster. Meaner. Threxmol watched the feed in mounting disbelief. "They are recycling casualties," one officer said, voice shaking. "No," Threxmol growled. "They are upgrading them." The turning point. The Drev adapted quickly. They always did. Orders were issued. Total dismemberment. Target the head. Pulverize remains. It worked. At first. Human losses skyrocketed. Bodies littered the battlefield, broken beyond recognition. The Drev roared in triumph. Then the human medships arrived. What they recovered was not just flesh. It was information. Human regeneration accelerated after each engagement. Wounds that took minutes to heal now took seconds. Pain thresholds climbed. Neural suppression activated faster. The humans learned. And they learned under fire. General Threxmol received a report he did not want to believe. "Commander," his strategist said quietly, "human survival rates are increasing." "How?" Threxmol demanded. "We are killing them more efficiently than ever." "Yes," the strategist replied. "And that appears to be the problem." The Battle of Black Ridge. The final engagement on Reth 9 occurred at a canyon called Black Ridge. The Drev held the high ground. Perfect kill zone. The humans charged anyway. Plasma rained down, turning the canyon into a furnace. Dozens of humans died instantly. The rest kept moving. They reached the ridge. Hand-to-hand combat erupted. A Drev warrior impaled a human through the chest, lifting him off the ground. The human coughed blood. Then grabbed the Drev by the face and bit through its eye. Even as his heart stopped, his muscles kept moving, residual neural signals firing long enough to kill his enemy. His body collapsed. 3 minutes later it twitched. The Drev line broke. Threxmol stood in silence as the ridge fell. His forces, superior in every measurable way, were retreating. From humans. The realization. A captured Drev officer was brought before a human commander. The alien snarled. "You are monsters." The human shook her head. "No," she said calmly. "We're survivors." The officer laughed bitterly. "We killed you. Again and again. And every time," the human replied, "you taught us how." When Threxmol finally ordered the retreat, he recorded a private log, one that would later circulate through the galaxy as a warning. "Do not fight humans expecting them to break. They are not glass. They are fire-tested metal. Every blow sharpens them. Every death is a lesson." On Reth 9, as the last Drev ships fled, human soldiers stood among the ruins. Wounded. Exhausted. Smiling. They had been called fragile. Now the galaxy was learning what that mistake cost. The Galactic Council did not call it extermination. They called it Containment Resolution Omega. Words mattered to the Council. Extermination implied guilt. Containment implied responsibility. What they proposed was, on paper, simple. Remove humanity from the equation before their regenerative anomaly destabilized galactic civilization. Humans were no longer just soldiers. They were variables. And variables were dangerous. The fear that drove the decision. In less than 5 cycles, human combat efficiency had increased by 312%. That number terrified the galaxy more than any battlefield footage ever could. Human soldiers were healing faster. Learning faster. Adapting faster. Some units now operated with the expectation of death, not as an end but as a temporary state. Medical reports confirmed that repeated trauma was restructuring neural pathways, improving shock resistance and accelerating cellular response. One elder finally said what everyone else was thinking. If this continues, humans will no longer need us. Silence followed. That silence sealed humanity's fate. Omega Weapon Authorization. The Council approved the use of a weapon banned since the First Extinction Era. Designation: Null Bloom. Function: collapse molecular cohesion within a targeted radius. No explosion. No radiation. No debris. Just absence. Biological, mechanical, and energy-based matter simply cease to exist. No remains. No regeneration. No coming back. The target was chosen carefully. Planet Virex Theta. Human Forward Medical Hub. Population: 38,000, mostly wounded, recovering soldiers. Krilthek watched the briefing in horror. "You cannot be serious," he said, his translator crackling with emotion. "This violates every medical and ethical law. The humans violate nature itself," an elder replied coldly. "This ends now." Krilthek felt something unfamiliar tighten in his core. Guilt. The moment before erasure. Captain Elena Vasquez stood in the medbay of Virex Theta, watching soldiers sleep. Some were missing limbs. Others lay in regeneration comas, bodies slowly rebuilding themselves after catastrophic injuries. Machines hummed softly, feeding nutrients directly into veins, supporting hearts and lungs while biology caught up. A young private stirred. "Ma'am?" he whispered. "Yes," Elena said softly. "Did we win?" Elena smiled sadly. "We're still here. That counts." Alarms did not sound. There was no warning. 1 second the planet existed. The next, a perfect sphere of nothing expanded outward. Buildings vanished mid-hallway. Mountains ceased halfway through their mass. Oceans ended in clean, impossible curves. Virex Theta was erased. Across the galaxy, sensors recorded the impossible. A hole where a world had been. The aftermath. Human space went silent. No retaliation. No threats. No declarations of war. Just nothing. The council exhaled in relief. "It is done," one elder said. "The anomaly is contained." Krilthek stared at the empty star map, limbs trembling. "You didn't contain them," he whispered. "You taught them something." Survivors. The council did not know about Outpost Ember 7. A classified human black site, built for one purpose: regeneration research beyond ethical limits. Only 214 humans were stationed there. And they felt the null bloom. Not physically. Emotionally. They watched Virex Theta vanish in real time. Dr. Mara Kessler, chief biologist, didn't cry. She turned to her team. "They used a god weapon," she said calmly. "So now we stop playing nice." Beyond biology. Humans had always regenerated flesh. But Ember 7 was where they asked a forbidden question. What if regeneration didn't stop at the body? Neural backups had once been theoretical, illegal under council law. Now those laws meant nothing. Human consciousness was mapped, copied, stored in quantum substrates. Not perfect copies, continuations. If a body was erased, the mind could be reinserted into a grown or synthetic shell. Not immortality, but something dangerously close. The first test was voluntary. Subject: Commander Seth O'Neill. Cause of death: total molecular erasure, simulated. They activated the backup. His eyes opened. He screamed. Then laughed. "It worked," he said hoarsely. "You crazy geniuses actually did it." The room was silent. Human regeneration had crossed a line. They were no longer just healing. They were returning. The message to the galaxy. The council detected a signal. Human origin. Broadcast on every frequency, every language. A single human stood on screen. Scarred. Calm. Furious. "You erased a hospital," she said. "You killed our wounded. Our healers. Our children." The feed cut to data. Proof. Regeneration logs. Resurrection records. Ember 7 schematics. "You thought death was our limit," she continued. "It's our teacher." Her eyes hardened. "We will not retaliate the way you expect." The screen went dark. Across the galaxy, systems began failing. Not exploding. Failing. Human cyber units slipped into infrastructure, shutting down fleets, freezing economies, collapsing logistics without firing a shot. War had changed. Krilthek's realization. Krilthek floated alone in his office, staring at the stars. Humans had not attacked. They had withdrawn consent. No medical aid. No engineering support. No trade. No rescue. Entire sectors began to suffer. And still the humans waited. Krilthek finally understood. They weren't seeking revenge. They were letting the galaxy feel absence. The same way humans had. A final thought. In a sealed council archive, a new classification was written. Humanity. Status. Post-biological adaptive civilization. Threat level, existential. A note was added at the bottom, authored anonymously, later traced to Krilthek. They were fragile only when they trusted us. Now they regenerate beyond death itself. The galaxy began to starve. Not for food. For humans. For centuries, human engineers had quietly propped up interstellar civilization, repairing jump gates, stabilizing reactors, patching failing life support systems that other species had long forgotten how to maintain themselves. When humans withdrew, things didn't explode. They simply stopped working. Freighters drifted powerless between stars. Hospitals lost power mid-surgery. Climate regulators failed, plunging entire worlds into storms or ice. The Council called it a catastrophe. Humans called it distance. The first plea. The first official plea came from the Zyral Combine, a species once openly supportive of Resolution Omega. Their envoy appeared on the human diplomatic channel, kneeling, crests flattened, voice trembling. "We misjudged you," the Zyral said. "Please, restore aid. We will submit to any condition." The Human Council chamber was silent. Commander Elena Vasquez stood at the center, arms crossed. Around her were soldiers with regenerated limbs, scientists who had resurrected colleagues, and civilians who had lost families on Virex Theta. "No," Elena said simply. The channel cut. Across the galaxy, panic spread. Krilthek crosses the line. Krilthek did something no council member had ever done. He defected. His ship arrived at the edge of human-controlled space with no weapons, no shields, and a single message. Trauma Dr. Krilthek requests asylum. Human security intercepted him within minutes. When he was brought before Elena, he did not kneel. He collapsed. "I helped study you," he said, voice cracking. "I believed knowledge would protect the galaxy. I was wrong." Elena studied him carefully. "You didn't fire the weapon," she said. "No," Krilthek whispered. "But I failed to stop it." Silence hung heavy. Finally, Elena spoke. "You want forgiveness?" Krilthek looked up, eyes wet. "I want to help undo the damage." That earned him a seat at the table. The question no one wanted to ask. As systems failed, the Council sent more messages. Apologies. Reparations. Offers of submission. One elder finally said the quiet part aloud during a private transmission. "You could rule us," she admitted. "No fleet could stop you now." She wasn't wrong. Humans had achieved something unprecedented. Regeneration beyond fatal injury. Consciousness continuity. Cyber and biological supremacy. Soldiers who treated death as a delay. They could conquer the galaxy in a single campaign. The Human Council debated for 3 days. Arguments raged. They tried to erase us. They killed our wounded. They'll do it again if we let them. Then Dr. Mara Kessler asked one question. What happens to us if we stop caring who we are? The room fell quiet. A different kind of power. Elena stood before the assembly. "We didn't survive because we're unkillable," she said. "We survived because we don't quit." She gestured to the room. "Every time we regenerated, it hurt. Every resurrection tore something out of us. We're not gods." Her voice hardened. "We're tired." That changed everything. Humanity did not want worship. They wanted safety. They drafted a counter-resolution. The Human Accord. The message was broadcast across all known space. Not as a threat. As a contract. The Human Accord. Terms for our engagement. Null bloom weapons are permanently banned. Any use will result in immediate human intervention. Human medical facilities are neutral ground. Attacking them is considered a crime against sentience. Regeneration research is shared, ethically. No species will weaponize it without consent. Humans will not rule. But they will no longer obey councils that choose extinction over fear. The dead are remembered. Virex Theta will be rebuilt as a memorial world. The galaxy waited. Then one by one species agreed. Not because they were forced. Because they understood the alternative. The memorial world. Virex Theta was reconstructed exactly as it had been. Same terrain. Same sky. But no one lived there. Instead, every structure housed records of those lost, humans and non-humans alike. Medical bays preserved empty beds. Names scrolled endlessly across the surface of the planet. Krilthek stood beside Elena on the rebuilt world. You could have destroyed us, he said quietly. Elena nodded. Yeah. Why didn't you? She looked at the stars. Because if we did, we wouldn't regenerate from that. The last test. Years later, a mining accident collapsed a star tunnel near the Kesh corridor. Thousands were trapped. Multiple species. Radiation levels lethal. The council hesitated, too dangerous, too unstable. Humans didn't. They went in first. Human rescue teams burned, died, regenerated, and kept moving. Some didn't come back at all, but their backups did, guiding the next wave with data from their own deaths. When it was over, every survivor, alien and human, was evacuated. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. Not warriors. Not gods. Rescuers. Krilthek's final entry. In the Galactic Medical Archives, Krilthek submitted his final report. Humans terrify us because they regenerate. But what truly defines them is restraint. They stand on the edge of becoming monsters, and choose not to step forward. As the stars turned, a new truth spread across the galaxy. Humans were not fragile. They were not immortal. They were something far more dangerous. A species that could survive becoming gods, and still chose to be human. The last threat did not come with fleets. It came with silence. No warnings. No political posturing. No demands. Just stars, going out. The dimming. At first, astronomers thought it was sensor failure. A binary system in the outer Perseus arm lost luminosity for 12 seconds, then returned. Hours later, another star dimmed. Then another. Not exploding. Not collapsing. Fading. Dr. Mara Kessler stared at the data in disbelief. Stars don't do that, she whispered. Krilthek stood beside her, older now, his crest dulled by years and guilt. Unless something is feeding on them. The realization hit them both at the same time. Something ancient had awakened. The Void Shepherds. The entity called itself nothing. The galaxy named it the Void Shepherds. They were older than recorded history, non-corporeal intelligences that existed between dimensions, sustained not by matter but by energy gradients. Stars were wounds in reality to them. Civilizations were noise. And humanity's regeneration? That was a beacon. Humanity's refusal to die, its endless recycling of energy, matter, and consciousness, had rung like a dinner bell across dimensions. The shepherds did not hate humans. They were simply curious. And hungry. The choice no one else could make. The first contact message was short. Your species violates entropy. Balance must be restored. Submit to consumption. If the shepherds fed fully, they would collapse entire star clusters to smooth the universe back toward equilibrium. Billions would die. Every species turned to humanity. Because only one civilization had proven it could walk away from death. The plan humanity never wanted. Dr. Kessler delivered the truth to the Human Council. They're attracted to regeneration loops, she said. To repeated defiance of entropy. Elena Vasquez clenched her jaw. Meaning? Meaning if we stop regenerating, fully stop, we lose what makes us human, Kessler replied. But if we don't? She didn't finish. Krilthek did. They will eat the galaxy. Silence filled the chamber. Finally, Elena spoke. So what's the alternative? Kessler's voice shook. We give them what they want. Becoming the bait. Humanity proposed something no other species would have even conceived. A controlled regeneration singularity. A massive human-built structure designed to simulate infinite regeneration. Millions of human consciousness echoes cycling endlessly, broadcasting the exact signature the Void Shepherds craved. A lie. A decoy. But to power it? Someone has to be inside, Elena said quietly. Kessler nodded. Not someone, she said. Us. The last volunteer call. The message went out across human space. No draft. No pressure. Just truth. This mission means no backups. No resurrection. No return. The response overwhelmed every system. Veterans. Doctors. Engineers. Parents. Teenagers who had grown up during the wars. They lined up knowing exactly what they were giving up. Krilthek watched the footage trembling. You're choosing death, he whispered. Elena shook her head. No, she said. We're choosing finality. The day humans became mortal again. The singularity activated. Human regeneration protocols were shut down, permanently. No neural backups. No synthetic bodies. No return paths. For the first time in centuries, humans were truly mortal. The Void Shepherds came. They descended on the singularity like shadows pouring into light, feeding greedily on the infinite appearance of regeneration. They never noticed the trap. The energy loop collapsed inward. The shepherds screamed, if such a thing could be called screaming, as they were pulled into a sealed dimensional fold, cut off from the universe forever. The stars stabilized. The galaxy survived. The singularity went dark. After the silence, no human signal followed. No triumph. No celebration. Just absence. Entire worlds waited. Days passed. Then weeks. Finally, a single transmission emerged from the ruins of the structure. Low power. Human origin. Elena Vasquez appeared on screen. Alive. Scarred. Tired. But smiling. "We did it," she said softly. Behind her were fewer humans than had entered. Many fewer. "We're coming home," she continued. "But things are different now." She paused. "We can still regenerate, a little. Heal faster than most. Adapt better than anyone." Her eyes hardened gently. "But we chose a line." Krilthek's tears. Krilthek watched from his office as the transmission ended. He did something his species rarely did. He wept. "They gave up godhood," he whispered. "For us." The final record. In the galactic archives, the final classification of humanity was written, not by politicians but by historians. Humanity. Not fragile. Not immortal. They terrified the galaxy not because they could not die, but because they knew when to. A memorial was built, not just on Virex Theta but across hundreds of worlds. Statues did not show humans as warriors. They showed them standing at the edge of darkness, holding it back. The ending humans chose. Years later, a child, alien born long after the wars, asked a teacher, "Why are humans special?" The teacher thought for a long moment. "Because," she said, "they looked at death, learned from it, mastered it, and then let it go." And that is why, even now, when the galaxy faces the impossible, there is a saying spoken in 100 languages. Call the humans. They've been here before.